Hi! In this video, we're going to be learning how to do a vertical hip 8 using our knees. So you may have seen, I have another video that shows how to do a vertical hip 8 using your feet, which is going to look like this, going up, or this going down. But there is another way to do a vertical hip 8, and that would be using our knees. So even though it's the same shape, it's quite different in how it feels and the technique we have to use. So in this video, we'll be looking at that. So in order to do the vertical 8 with our knees, we are going to have our feet together in parallel. So this is already different from the one with our feet where we were turned out and our feet were a little farther apart from each other. For this, I like to have my legs really squeezing together. And what we're going to do is we're going to bend one leg. So in this case, I'm going to bend my left leg, which would be your right leg, if you're mirroring me. And I'm really going to let my hip on that side drop down to the floor as I do that. So really stretching out my obliques on that side, pulling that hip down to the floor. You want to make sure that you're not twisting your hip forward or back with this movement. It should just be going straight up and down, and it's completely connected to that knee. So our hips, if we want to move our hips vertically up or down, we can achieve that two ways. One would be lifting our heel and dropping it with a straight leg because, of course, the hip is connected to the foot. So if we lift our heel, that's going to drop it. And the other would be bending and straightening the knee while keeping the foot flat on the floor, which is also going to cause our hip to lift and drop because, of course, the hip is also connected to the knee. When you bend the knee, you're making this distance between the hip and the floor shorter, so it's going to drop. So let's just try that on the other side as well, just so you get that feeling. Again, keeping the other leg straight as you do this. Just bend that knee and let that hip slide down. So try to also feel that stretch in your obliques as you do that. So you can pause and practice that a bit if you'd like, but we're going to go on. So going back to that first side, we bend the knee, dropping the hip, and now we are going to use our hip slide, which you may remember from various other videos. So a horizontal slide out. So I'm going to slide and I'm going to slowly start straightening my leg as I slide. So slide, again bend, slide, straightening the leg, and then I'm going to drop the other knee, bend the other knee. So the other hip is going to come down, and again I'm going to slide my hips out. I'm going to start straightening that leg, and then when I've slid out all the way, I can't slide out anymore, that's when I'm going to bend that opposite leg. So bending, sliding, straightening the leg, and bending the other leg. Sliding, straightening the leg, bend. Slide, straighten, bend. Slide, straighten, bend. Slide, straighten, bend. Slide, straighten, bend. Great, and now let's do that same thing, but let's just try to go right into that next section. So I'm not going to do like slide, straighten, bend. I'm going to do straighten and bend and slide and bend and slide. So it's all connected. This is the hardest part of 8's, I think, is connecting them, especially on that diagonal section. So again, just like with the feet, our hips are drawing a vertical 8. but we're achieving it in a completely different manner. And this one, it ends up being, I guess, not quite as big and as dramatic as the one with the feet, but it has a really different feel to it and a different look to it, and both of them are really beautiful. So it's important to be able to know how to do both and to use them both at different times in your dancing, depending on the music, depending on the mood, depending on all sorts of things. Let's now reverse that. So we always reverse everything that we do when we do circles, when we do 8's. So this was what I would call a vertical 8 going up. Now we're going to do a vertical 8 going down. So we're going to start by bending the opposite leg. So before I was bending my left leg, which would be your right leg. Now we're going to switch and bend the other leg, but then we're going to slide to the side away from the leg that we bent. And we are again going to straighten that leg as we slide. So bend the leg, but slide away from it and straighten the leg. And then when you've slid way out, so your hips are way out here, then you're going to bend that leg and now slide to the other side and bend the leg that you just slid out towards. So slide and bend, and slide and bend, slide and bend, slide and bend, sliding up, bending down, sliding, straightening that back leg and bending, slide, bend. And I want to remind you to keep the chest still during all of these movements. The upper body should not be moving. You want to isolate this. Let's make sure we're smoothing it out. So this movement, when we are going down, the vertical hip 8 down is again called a Maya. And personally, I prefer to do the Maya with my knees. And the vertical 8 going up, I usually like to do with my feet. That's just my personal preference. But again, you can do variations. You can do some up and then some with your knees. This is knees. This would be feet. As you can see, they look really different, and it's really fun to combine them. And one of the great things about this version with the knees, what you can do is you can go down to the floor. And then you start really relying on your obliques as you're coming all the way down. So that's really fun. Of course, you got to work on your quad strength to do this one. But this can look really great at different times in a song, going down with a Maya or with a vertical 8. You can do the same. So as I'm doing this, I'm lifting my heels when I start to get down here, trying to keep the back straight and coming up. But you do not have to do that at the beginning. It's enough to just practice. I mean, it's quite difficult. And getting it to look fluid is really the goal for that. So that is the vertical 8 with the knees. If you haven't seen the video on the vertical 8 with the feet, you can also check that out. Compare, see what you like better, have fun with it. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, to subscribe to the channel, to get more videos, and happy practicing.